Okay, so let's talk about TNA Against All Odds 2012, that pay-per-view. I started off really pissed off anyway because, um, well, first off, because it's TNA and I didn't really give a shit. And second, because Blogger has been screwing up. Google is just fucking up my stats, and it's kind of making me lose hundreds and hundreds of page views a day. And so to me, when I see that I'm only getting 100 people looking at a TNA pay-per-view, and I usually get maybe 17 times that amount by that point, I'm already ticked off. And then I have to watch this crap too. Uh,
Fuck
so,
you, Google.
yeah, Google needs to figure this shit out, and so does TNA.
Figure your shit out, you multi-billion-dollar bastards.
And
Yeah,
if anybody's a fan of this show and of the website, help me out here because this stuff could potentially ruin the website. You got to start helping me promote this and go to the website, dig it on dig.com, share it on Facebook and Twitter and all that. The more you guys help me out, the more I could do some crazy shit on the podcast and everything else and get your opinions out there and entertain the hell out of you guys. So uh, keep that in mind. But let's go over the TNA thing. First match of the night was the most interesting match of the night, but not for the reason that it should have been. And that was the number one contenders match for the X Division Championship between Zema Ion and Jesse Sorensen. It was really short, and it was cut short because of the. You can't necessarily call it the highlight of the night because it wasn't a highlight. Wish it didn't happen. But Jesse Sorensen takes two knees to the head when Zema Ion's doing a moonsault, and bang, he's out. He might be out for an entire year, if not longer. Potential paralysis and everything like that. I mean,
He's only now just getting some sort of feeling back into his legs.
right.
And I will say this, Zema Ion, you fucking cunt. This is what happens when you're not fucking trained properly. You shouldn't be pushed. You shouldn't even be fucking wrestling, you twat. And TNA, fuck you for having the guy on your roster. Even after this. Seriously, get your fucking shit together.
Well, see, mistakes happen,
It's not a fucking
but
mistake. That was overzealousness. If you see the way the guy came off, right, you could tell by the spot that Sorensen was ready to catch him, and he bent his fucking knees straight into the guy's head. He rammed it so that his head literally folded straight into his neck. It was ridiculous.
hmm,
It shouldn't have happened. It was Ion's fault. And the fact that they keep pushing the guy is seriously fucking stupid. He needs to be penalized for it. And even worse, he needs to lose his fucking job.
but look at what
Fucking
TNA
joke.
has done in the past with people with problems. Look what happened with Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, it's a fucking
You
joke.
know,
The company is a fucking joke.
And they're still continuing to push him after that accident too. I think
Yeah,
that's the most appalling part.
no, I
Okay, we're
agree with
gonna
you.
push somebody who, well, he
Injured
broke
the other
someone's
guy.
neck, so we're
Yeah,
just gonna keep pushing him. Let's give him heel heat off of that.
right?
he's a fucking danger to everyone, including himself. At the end of the day, what we're gonna do? We're gonna watch him kill Austin Aries. Is that what you want? Because this guy is now the fucking number one contender. He is too fucking green. He needs to be put into a position where they need to take him aside and say, "Look, this is what's happened. You fucking crippled a guy. Now there's got to be repercussions for this.
Hmm.
I
Fucking
totally
simple."
agree.
Dace, what were you doing at this point of the pay per view?
well, see, my prediction was I was going to start searching for the link, and I completely was wrong on that because I didn't do shit towards this like when it comes to this pay per view. I didn't look for a link. I didn't even fire up my computer, to be honest with you. At this point, I was clipping my toenails.
And for the most part, it was kind of a little bit more interesting than most of the pay per view. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I kind of botched one of the clips on my one smaller toe, and it got cut, and I was like, "Oh, fuck that guy!" But then I realized, worse botches happened that night, from what I understand. So I will put my toenail aside, and we could probably move on to the next match because I probably offended half of the wrestling fans that aren't really wrestling fans because they watch TNA, you assholes.
Well,
uh,
I will say this: it's made conclusive that he's fractured his C1 vertebrae, and he's
hmm.
only now getting feeling back in his legs.
Yeah, so naturally, I mean, we wish him, speedy recovery and everything like that. It's never
That's
good
right.
when somebody gets injured, even if you're
Fuck
not
you,
necessarily a
Seymour.
fan of them. But
Seriously.
Especially an injury
Fuck.
like that too.
right,
Like that's
yeah, it's a different story if somebody breaks their finger than when somebody could potentially die or be paralyzed for the rest of their life.
Guy's got no. He should have. He's got no remorse. He shouldn't be near the fucking ring. Seriously. Fuck you.
So then that led us to what I assumed was kind of a thrown together match just to eat up some of the time that the Sorensen Ion match couldn't do, which was the Robbie E Invitational TV Championship. Robbie E defended it against Shannon Moore, defeated him by pinfall. Generic kind of a match, nothing impressive.
Again, ever since they split up Inc., Moore's been used as fodder at the moment. And this whole TV title thing with Robbie E, take the fucking belt off of him. Give it to someone that can actually use the title. Kazarian, one big example there. Daniels. You can even give it to freaking James Storm at the moment while he's in his, he's escalating his feud with Bobby Roode. There is no fucking reason that title has been treated like a joke. It's supposed to be the mid card title as well.
Right.
And again, yeah, generic match. Shannon Moore used like a fucking jobber. Simple.
And then that led us to the Knockouts Championship. Gail Kim defeats Tara. Again, nothing special. Didn't really keep my attention. Didn't really care for it.
Yeah, well, what do you expect? It's Gail Kim. She's not at the level where she should be defending a recognized women's world championship. She's shit. One of the reasons why WWE didn't use her is because she does. There's nothing polarizing about her. Madison Rain is polarizing. She has some sort of character there. If you look at Mickey James, she has a character. Same thing with ODB. I'd rather fucking watch ODB versus Tara than Gail Kim, because Gail Kim is shit.
What was the
Excuse me.
update of what you were doing by this point, Dace?
I went downstairs to get a newspaper. It will lead to further updates. Trust me.
Then we had the TNA Tag Team Championship. Crimson and Matt Morgan actually lost the titles to Samoa Joe and Magnus. I, continued with the boring stuff. I didn't really like it. I was surprised that the title switched hands. I figured it was just going to be another, let's feed them back to Crimson and Matt Morgan, and then next month they would drop the title. But it's TNA. It doesn't need to make sense. So
I
look
saw this coming a
for...
mile away.
Really?
Yeah. Because I want to continue their storyline feud of Morgan and Crimson. They can't do that while they're holding the tag titles.
But I figured that would be next month is when they would lose it. And then they would break up and then have a feud together and everything like that.
Well, for me, I'm not a fan of the Joe Magnus team anyway, because I believe Magnus should have stayed with his British Invasion tag team partner.
Right.
Um,
Douglas
and
Williams isn't really doing anything else.
yeah, Douglas Williams is literally just on the explosion every now and then. And the fact is, again, these are two guys who could have been pushed. Williams was the television champion. He actually brought meaning back to that belt. They took it off of him. Excuse me. Gave it to Abyss, who did fucking shit all with it, and then put it on Gunner, who was green as fucking shit. So now they've thrown Joe and Magnus into a tag team because they don't know what the fuck they're doing with Joe, and they don't know what the fuck they're doing with Magnus. So, doesn't really mean shit. They're going to probably put another generic tag team together until the machine guns heal up. Excuse me.
And that led us to the actual, one of the only highlights of the pay-per-view, from my mind. And that was Bully Ray cutting a promo. And I mean, I've just been loving his promos. That's one thing I will continually give TNA credit for, is Bully Ray, for some reason, just is doing a fantastic job recently.
Yeah, Bully Ray is fucking amazing on the stick. The fact that they're not promoting him higher than what he is ridiculous. He's a main eventer,
Hmm.
and the way he acts, the way he presents himself, the way he cuts his promos is a main eventer.
Then we had the X Division Championship match of the night. Austin Aries defeating Alex Shelley. Very, very entertaining, which is not a surprise because Alex Shelley and Austin Aries are two of the people that consistently perform very well from my perspective.
They're both gold.
Mm. So if
Austin
anybody
Aries can
wants
knock
to
his shit
watch
off.
the good match of the pay-per-view, so to speak, or the highlight or whatever, watch that match and don't bother watching the rest of it as far as I'm concerned.
Match of the night. Simple.
Easily.
Yeah, Aries, again, I believe he's too good for the X Division now. He's gotten to the point where he needs to elevate a step further. If they bring him up to the TV title and leave the X Division, have someone in the X Division go over Aries and move him up, I wouldn't be against that. As long as it's not Zema Ion. Fuck you, Zema Ion.
Any updates, Dace, on what you were doing?
Well, at this point, I come back up to my room with a newspaper. I go into the bathroom, shut the door, lift up the toilet seat, and I drop a big, hot, steamy TNA. That's what I dropped. Right in that toilet. About the same time as, I think the Divas match was happening. So I proceeded that process for a little while and then eventually went and turned on Walking Dead.
And after that, we have AJ Styles losing to Kazarian. Second best match of the night, but not as good as the X Division one by any means. It was okay. It wasn't fantastic.
Again, it was one of those where these two just went through the motions. I didn't see it as one of Styles' best matches, and I didn't see it as one of Kazarian's. I
Not at
believe
all.
they could have put something way better on. They could have stole the show if they wanted to.
I would have rather had, looking at this feud of the kind of like Daniels getting involved and everything, I think it would have been better served if they did a triple threat.
Yeah,
Kazarian and Daniels and AJ.
they haven't done much to explain this storyline with Kazarian and Daniels. It makes no sense.
I don't think
Even if
that
it
they
was a
know what they're doing.
2-on-1. I don't think they know what they're doing with it. If it was me, I would have booked this rather easily. Kazarian should have been the guy in the background, and Daniels should have been against Styles, or even had a 2-on-1 with Kazarian reluctantly doing what Daniels was saying.
Right. Something where you have to question the loyalty of Kazarian as opposed
Yeah,
to Daniels on the outside cheering for Kazarian the entire time.
exactly. It makes no sense. In whole logistics of this thing, it basically seems that Kazarian wants to do all this.
Right.
Even though they're saying, it doesn't matter how much Tanay sits there and goes, oh, why he's unsure and all this and that rubbish. He's in the event with AJ Styles. He's accomplished what he wanted to do, and that was to get AJ Styles in the ring and beat the shit out of him.
Mm. And something else that doesn't seem like they really know what they're doing. The quote-unquote future of the business, Garrett Bischoff,
Oh God.
lost via pinfall to Gunner after Hogan almost threw in the towel and Garrett tells him not to, and it's this whole thing like that. Pass.
This is literally a Hulk Hogan match. And I don't mean Hulk Hogan in his prime when he was fucking amazing. I mean a Hulk Hogan now where he can't do fucking shit but still wants to go over. Gunner's green. Gunner doesn't deserve any type of push. He's shit. And the fucking arrogance that comes out of the guy is ridiculous. And as far as Gareth Bischoff's concerned, go to a fucking school, get trained, and then come back. Just
How
because your
about
last
don't
name is
come
Bischoff
back?
doesn't mean you should have anything to do with this business.
I could have swore they dropped this angle. Like, I just read that he's a part of the card for the pay-per-view. I'm like, what, they still have him on TV? I thought that was just something they did after Bound for Glory, but apparently they really want to invest in Garrett Bischoff.
Well, Eric wants to investigate Gareth Bischoff.
Yeah, right. Nepotism. It grants you superpowers, folks. Remember that.
And that led us to the main event of the night. Fatal 4-Way, TNA Championship. Bobby Roode, Jeff Hardy, James Storm, Bully Ray. Yeah, it had some good parts to it. I mean, there were a couple botches and everything, but I mean, nobody's perfect, so I can't just sit there and go, there was one botch, the whole thing was terrible, that kind of a thing. That'd be unfair. I fuck
You like the
I
Shawn
fuck up and
versus
stuff.
Taker finish.
The what?
The Shawn versus Taker finish. And the Brett versus Taker finish.
Oh
With
yeah,
Shawn
that's
Michaels' special guest.
immediately what I thought of.
Yeah.
For anybody who didn't watch the pay-per-view, the way that this ends is Rude gets the title belt, and he's going to use it against Jeff Hardy. But Sting, who is the enforcer, and naturally, of course, the referee gets knocked out, because the referee gets knocked out in every fucking main event of TNA. Somebody fucking bleeds, and the referee gets knocked out every fucking time. So
They should just
Sting...
have Flair on stage juicing himself.
Right, yeah. I mean, it could save them 5 minutes, and they could use that 5 minutes to figure out their production truck when they rerun the same promo twice in a row or something. So Sting grabs the title belt away from him. Rude taunts him. Sting eventually goes to hit him, hits Jeff Hardy, and then he has to count the pinfall. It's the same exact thing as HBK, special guest referee, has the chair. Bret Hart taunts him. He goes to hit him. He hits Undertaker. Bret pins him. Michaels has to count. Michaels ends up awarding the WWE champion, or WWF at the time, championship to Bret Hart. Same exact ending and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The last 2 minutes of the match were good. I thought that they were the highlight of the match. But the ending was, I mean, you could see it coming from a mile away as soon as he came into the ring.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it was obvious. We all knew what was going to happen. But also, the stupidity of it is that you take away the whole heat that's surrounding Rude and Storm, or Rude and the other challengers, and then you make it about Rude versus Sting. I don't mind the fact that Sting and Rude are going to eventually have a match at some point, but you don't need to take away the heat of everybody else in that match and give it to Sting.
Mm.
It makes no sense whatsoever. And now you're building something, and there's got to be a payoff. There's not going to be a payoff in this situation, not at all. So it was a decent match, as these matches always are. But I would have rather if they had Rude retain out of some other finish instead of going back to the Attitude Era and using a finish from there. They've done it one too many times with TNA.
So any last thoughts from anybody on TNA Against All Odds?
TNA pay-per-views are not worth my time. Simple as that.
I think we can all kind of second that.
I would
Watch The
give
Walking
this
Dead.
pay-per-view out of a 5 being the best and 1 being the worst. I would give it a 0 because the fact is not even Daniels, Kazarian, Aries, and Shelley could save this pay-per-view, and because they didn't put no thought into it. Most of it was booked off the cuff. You let a guy get injured as well because of your fucking stupidity. Oh, this company needs to burn.
So I gave it, out of my 3-count critique, a 1-count kick out, meaning that sucked. So we will switch over to a different...
Donkey balls.
It did indeed. We'll switch gears and start talking about some Elimination Chamber predictions. And unfortunately, let's just go right into the Divas in the next part.